Hey, this is Nick Milavoy.
And this is Jason Shadrick.
And this is the 100 Guitarist podcast, where every episode we're talking about one of the 100 guitarists we think you should know. Today is a very special one.
That's right.
Where we're talking about Ace Frehley from Kiss with none other than Chris Shiflett.
That's right.
A good friend of yours, colleague of yours, Jason.
So yeah, he's our first returning champion in terms of guests. And he had some time in the midst of Foo Fighters rehearsals to join us and pay tribute to Ace, which is one of his main guitar heroes, along with Randy Rhoads. All right, so if you want to get at us, hit us up at 100guitarists at premierguitar.com, or you can call or text us at 319-423-9734.
Today's episode is brought to you by Gibson, who wants us to tell you that Epiphone's game-changing collaboration with the artisans at Gibson Custom is expanding. These new additions to the Inspired by Gibson Custom collection bring premium custom shop tone and components to every stage, featuring USA pickups, historically accurate Gibson open book headstocks, and one-piece necks. Epiphone's Inspired by Gibson Custom collection will elevate your playing to a whole new level.
And the latest additions, check out this list. You got the 1942 Banner J45. You have the Les Paul Custom. You have the 59 Les Paul Standard, the 59 ES355, the J180 LS, the 1957 SJ200, and the 63 Les Paul SG Custom with a Maestro Vibrola. So check out the full Inspired by Gibson Custom lineup. It's a new tier premium Epiphone models to complement their full array of instruments for players at every level at Gibson.com. So thanks to Gibson for the support.
Thank you, Gibson. Here comes Chris Shiflett.
All right, we have officially our first repeat offender. Our official, what other titles could we give? First time, second time guest, 100 Guitarist correspondent. The one and only. I like correspondent. You like that?
Yeah.
Chris?
That's right. I'm your man on the street out here on the West Coast.
Man on the street,
Yeah.
Chris Shiflett, to come in from his busy schedule of changing air filters to talk to us about Ace, the dearly departed Ace who we lost recently.
Yeah.
I know you had interviewed him a few times. One time on Shred with Shifty, which I believe is an all-time episode.
Yes.
That's my favorite episode of that podcast.
Really? Yeah.
I listened to it again yesterday.
Oh, no way. Yeah. I interviewed him once for Walking the Floor, my old podcast, and then once for Shred with Shifty. And yeah, it was great, without question, and obviously you guys know this, like that's Ace Frehley is the reason, full stop, that I play guitar. That was my entry point to rock and roll, especially like rock and roll guitar playing. So to get to meet him and interact with him a little bit, a couple of times was pretty great.
Was doing the podcast the first time that you guys had met?
Well, technically, no. If you really want to split hairs, see, there's a interesting backstory to all this. Where my mom's sisters in the 70s worked for Casablanca Records, and one of them, my Aunt Candy, married a guy that also worked at Casablanca Records, my Uncle Larry. So between the three of them, we had like a direct pipeline to get like advanced copies of Kiss records and things like that when we were very little, and that was all happening, in the the mid to late 70s. And we got to go to I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was Gene Simmons' birthday party.
Dude.
Wild.
Wait, how old were you on this?
Dude.
I'm not kidding, dude. It was either I think it was 1978. It might have been 79, but I think it was 78. I'd have to double check with my brothers.
How old were you?
Dude, I was a teeny. And I almost didn't get to go because I would have been like 7, I think.
Okay,
My brothers
so this
were
is
a little
well
bit
before
older.
you started to play guitar.
Way
Yeah.
before. And it's really, the memory of it all is pretty fuzzy. The main thing I remember is, first off, because I was so young, I wasn't going to be taken to this shindig.
To the real party.
Yeah, and it was at Neil Bogart's house. I mean, like, if I had been a little older, that there was just God knows what going on in the bathrooms at this party, that I was totally, had no idea. But I do remember, you have to think about how crazy it was to see the guys in Kiss. They were all there without makeup in 1978. Was like, just.
Would you recognize them?
No,
Yeah.
we were introduced to them, as
Yeah,
little kids,
right.
so you knew who they were.
This
But
is Ace.
but you wouldn't have known who they were otherwise. And the only real memory I have of that night is that Ace Frehley was drunk. So surprise,
I mean,
surprise.
78. You're in the biggest rock band in the world in 78. What else are you gonna
I know. So, I guess technically that would have been the first time I met him. I met him kind of very briefly at some like VH1 thing that we played. What was it called? Like Rock Honors or Rock Icons or something years ago. And I think that was like after the reunion years, but then when he was not doing it anymore. And then I actually met him. It's funny because, like, of course, he had no idea who I was or anything like that. It's not like he's like, "Oh, I got to do Chris Shiflett's podcast" or whatever. But I had booked interviewing him on my old show, and then went to some thing that he did the night before. I went with some friends of mine and met him briefly there. And I said to him, I go, "Hey, I'm interviewing you tomorrow," and he goes, "Yeah." Just kind of turned away. I was like, wow, he seems pumped. But then it was fun, actually getting to sit there and ask, like, because when you know how it is with those kind of interviews, like you've got decades of like staring at album covers, going, well, what's that? How did this happen? And just years of, rock fantasy and rumor mill and all that stuff to go like, so what really happened with X, Y, and Z? So yeah, it was fun.
But by the time, like, on the Shred with Shifty episode, he knew who you were.
Well,
and he was like, there's a point, like, 20 minutes in, he's just like, well, he's rapping about something. And then he just stops. He goes, "It's really good to see you, man. I love what you guys are doing. My stepdaughter loves your music." And it's like, he catches up to, his thoughts catch up to him. And he's like, he sounds genuinely,
yeah,
happy to be there.
He was totally sweet. Yeah, and definitely in that second interview was more familiar, for sure.
Yeah.
But he was very nice.
So neither Nick or I were around during their heyday, Kiss's heyday. And you mentioned how, he was the guy that just made you want to play rock guitar. But that happened after their heyday, right? Like, what year did you start playing guitar?
I started playing guitar when I was 11, so that would have been around 82-ish, something like that. Yeah.
So what was Kiss still cool then? Or was it just like the music, you were still listening to music from the late 70s? And you just
He's
liked how
asking
they
if
looked.
you were hip or out of date.
You got to set the stage for like around 1982. Yeah. Rock music had evolved, and I would think of that era of Kiss as kind of being the lean years. You've got Dynasty was what, 79 or 80, something like that, huge hit, but like I had like the disco song and stuff. So I think so the story goes, alienate some of the core fans and all that. And then the next record, Unmasked, like I don't even think they toured the U.S. on that record, because I think it, you listen to that record, interestingly through that period, the best songs on those records were the Ace Frehley songs. Like if you think of Dynasty, I mean the 2000 Man obviously is everybody knows that song, but that song, what's it called, Hard Times? Is that the other Ace song on there? That is such a great song. Like to me that's like probably the best song on that record. And then if you look at Unmasked, he had like 2 or 3 songs on that were like the most rockin' songs on that record, because that record was not real rockin'. It had like, I think Shandy and all that stuff was a single on it. And then even if you go to The Elder,
my favorite.
That's like nobody's favorite Kiss record. That is like, I think probably pretty much agreed. Like in terms of the makeup years, that's like the low point.
I go my own way.
But he had that song on there. I think he had at least one. That Dark Light song is a fucking great song. And to answer your question, of course, yeah, we were listening to everything that was going on. Like like hard rock was like Judas Priest and Scorpions and Iron Maiden. All this stuff was happening, and the first Ozzy records and the Sabbath records with Dio and all that stuff. Like there was a lot of great, like things were getting darker and heavier and more metal in that time frame. And Kiss was kind of doing the opposite. But I actually never stopped. I bought all those records, listened to them, wore them out. You know, I had my favorites. And then you get to what, Creatures of the Night, and that's when they start to like kind of right the ship, and they're getting rocking again.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, it's funny because all those podcasts we did, it seemed like for a good number of them, Ace was kind of this through line.
Yeah.
That a good amount of the guests would connect with you on that. Especially what reminded me of that was Mike McCready.
Oh yeah.
Like he's
well. I don't know if you saw. You know what kind of blew me away the other day? Like when I saw that Mike Campbell posted a really cool tribute thing on his social media, talking about going to see Kiss like when they were making their first record or something. It was like the mid '70s, but you know before they were you know a big deal of their own, and had just like all these like great things to say about his guitar playing. It was like really cool. Like you think of Mike Campbell as being totally way over here and Ace being way over here, and there being not much musical ground between those two things. But I don't know. I thought it was great. It really speaks to like how great he was and how influential he was, certainly to people like my age and after. I mean, I think, you know, for me being a little kid in the late '70s and getting those records, and it's fire and smoke and, you know, makeup, and they just were obviously larger than life. So I think that just, it was just wild. And for whatever reason, so many people just connected with him. I think there was like kind of almost like even then before you, because you didn't, you know, when we were little kids, we didn't know what was going on. But you read all the memoirs now, and it's like chaos and the band's falling apart through all the, you know, those glory years. But nobody knew that in real time. So it just seemed like you just imagine they all lived in a big house together somewhere, fighting crime and rocking and rolling or whatever they were doing.
I mean, were they the best? Two questions kind of come to mind when I think about Ace's playing during that time. One, and we had touched on this before, Nick, in a previous episode. Is Ace the most classic rock of classic rock guitar players?
Yeah.
Well, we did decide
we
in
thought
that
it was
episode
Joe Walsh.
we thought it was Joe Walsh. I have a thought on, having listened to Ace all week, I have some thoughts on that. I think so. My perspective on Kiss comes from like listening to them in the '90s, and I'd see the imagery and stuff before I ever like connected it with the music. And I remember like an early CD purchase of mine was is it Kiss Platinum? I think it's called, like that
like a greatest hits.
Yeah. Double platinum, Kiss double platinum. I bought that, and I was like, all I knew was like Rock and Roll All Night and maybe Detroit Rock City. And then I heard that and was like, man, these songs aren't heavy, because by then it was like I already knew Metallica, Megadeth,
right,
and stuff that was on MTV, and I thought that they were a heavy band, you know. And I might have even been reading guitar magazines at the time and reading guitar players talking about like how influential he was on their playing. And so I made up this idea of what Ace was actually all about, right? And then it's like I heard them, and you know, it's like, well, I liked the songs, but they just really weren't what I expected them to be. They're just like vibey rock and roll songs, right?
It's like boogie woogie rock and roll.
Like, yeah,
totally.
I had no idea. Like I connected this metal thing with what they were doing because of the imagery. But you know, thinking about it now, like I was watching all these videos, and I was like, man, like this must have been so crazy to see, because it's like it's actually really campy, and it, like it's to the, which is like not what was coming through to me as a kid in the '90s. The campy element of it, I'm like, man, that's so punk rock. It's actually like so much more punk rock than I ever figured it out to be. I just thought it was just like boogie woogie rock, but it's like Ace is playing, and hearing him talk about his, you know, his guitar playing to you on the podcast. It's like I don't know nothing, and it's like he doesn't care. He's just like, I hold the pick this way. It sounds crazy. I just play it, and it's like it's so punk rock what he does. I wouldn't say that he's the most classic rock guitar player. It's like he is like this proto thing. It's like he had all these seeds of all this type of stuff, whether it was like classic rock and like bluesy classic rock playing is in there, but it's like seeds of like, I mean, you know, it's like Kiss sounds like the New York Dolls and Johnny Thunders and stuff like that, that it's like they became classic rock, you know, rock star superstars, that it's like those guys, you don't connect with that type of music. But to me, it's like, man, it's also so like punk rock, and like there's like vibey, like do it yourself kind of thing that I think there's kind of just like proto everything is in there, and proto metal and proto, you know, it's like he has all that stuff in his playing and in his vibe.
Yeah, they definitely had like songs that were heavier and more minor key than, you know, here and there, like, you know, God of Thunder and stuff like that. But so much of it, when you think of like the age that those guys were, you got to figure he probably grew up listening to a lot of like Chuck Berry and like real like rock and roll. Yeah. And you hear that heavily in his music. But to me, you also hear like a lot of Jeff Beck and a lot of Jimmy Page, but almost kind of like boiled, but almost like boiled down a little bit at a slightly more entry level, so that, you know, if you're a young guitar player, like you could probably figure out maybe an Ace Frehley solo a little quicker, a little more immediate than you can figure out what Jeff Beck was doing on, you know, whatever he was doing prior.
He's going to scare a 12-year-old away.
Yeah.
With his playing, you're not going to want to touch that.
Or even like Randy Rhoads, like those, like the technical facility for a Randy Rhoads solo and for an Ace solo are like complete.
I mean, it's not an accident that the first gig I ever played in my whole life, we put a band together when I was in the 9th grade to play our 9th grade talent show. We did Strutter and Rock and Roll All Night, you know, because like even though we were all listening to like Yngwie Malmsteen and stuff at that time, we could have never played that. And you could get Strutter in your hands and get it, you know, good enough to go play your talent show, you know?
And it reminded me, going back and watching that episode of Shred to Shifty, how unique his right hand technique is. It's almost like it's a closed fist type thing, and it doesn't look particularly comfortable, right? But it just like it works for him. And I think that has to add to the sound, because when he would play like your Ace Frehley lick, Chris, that you talked about with McCready in that episode.
Oh yeah.
You know, we all know that exact lick.
Yes.
That, like, the sound of that has so much to do with how kind of messy his right hand is. Jimmy Page has a little of that too.
Oh yeah, like, well, I mean, it's a shame that you wind up interviewing all these guys when they're like quite a bit older and sort of far removed from their prime, because since he passed away recently, you know, the internet is the algorithm on social media, because I click on every single clip that comes my way, is just feeding me nothing but old Ace Frehley live, you know, just killing it. And he, you know, when you think of the level of player that he was, not just when they were making those records, but live, like, I mean, to me, you just can't argue. He was a beast. And it's not like that. It's not like what he did was easy, you know. It wasn't Randy Rhoads and Malmsteen and Eddie Van Halen. It wasn't like that level of technical proficiency, obviously, but it was that, you know, fast, pentatonic, bluesy rock and roll thing, and he just crushed it at it. And he was so good. Like, I think, you know, obviously people, like, Kiss is like this super polarizing band. People either love him or just hate him, you know. And critics never liked him, and he never got really the credit for the level of player that I think he was, you know, back in the day. It's tough for musicians, you know, because like you get old and your hands don't work the same way, and you know you spend a lot of years drinking and drugging and whatever you do, and it takes away from that, you know, that fluid thing, and I think it takes away, particularly for guitar players, it seems to eat away at guitar players' tone, you know.
Yeah.
And maybe that's like a hearing loss issue as well. I'm sure I'm going to go through that at some point myself, or if I'm not already. I don't know. Jason, if my tone gets really tinny, you better let me know.
Well, really, what this is, Chris, is intervention.
Finally.
This is under the guise of talking about Ace, because I knew you couldn't say no to that.
Yeah.
Really, I'm glad you have a seat.
That's right. You're gonna send me a Dumble. and a Strat on the neck pickup, and we're just going to go from there.
Buddy. When was the first time you saw him play live?
Well, okay, I never saw them back in the day. I never saw them in the original period, unfortunately.
You were only at the birthday party.
Only at the birthday. Somehow it never occurred to my mom or anybody involved to take us to an actual concert.
Even you had this inside track, you could probably get comps.
Yeah, we could have been like Forum Club, like doing rails with, Peter Criss at age 7 or 8 or whatever. But yeah, nobody thought that was a good idea. I don't know why. But so no, so I never saw Kiss at all until the reunion, and I think the first time I saw that was around '97 when they played down in Irvine, and it was awesome. It was great.
Hold on, this just dawned on me. I saw that reunion tour as well.
Whoa!
It's feasible. If we'd have to check the dates, that I saw Kiss live before you did.
Wow!
This is hitting me now.
Look at that. Somebody's been holding that in their back pocket.
No, the Melvins opened for him. No, we talked about this. We talked about this with Buzz, Nick. The Melvins opened for Kiss. That was a weird combination. I had no idea who the Melvins were at that time.
God, you got to assume that was a tough band for anybody to be in the support slot on, because like not one person in that arena would be, or shed or whatever it was, would be like, oh, let's get there early and see the opener.
Yeah.
It's like everybody been waiting for 20, 30 years, however long it had been to see them in makeup again.
Yeah, that's a tough spot.
Yeah.
That's a tough
So as prep for this episode, I did something I probably shouldn't have done, which is listen to the album Psycho Circus. And
here we go.
My last memory of that record was like reading the Guitar World like cover story or something about when it came out, and like I haven't thought about it probably since, and I didn't realize that the Ace is on like 2 tracks.
Right.
It's not like a real album. The song.
And I don't think Peter Criss is on any of it, right?
He's on 1 track, but maybe only singing. Maybe
he's
like
on vocals on 2
thing.
tracks, drums on 1. Ace plays on 3 tracks.
Now I know this is supposed to be Ace specific, but in watching all those old Kiss videos that the algorithm keeps feeding to me, Peter Criss is constantly sort of, that's like the mythology around him, and maybe it's true. I wasn't in the room when they were rehearsing. Maybe his drumming deteriorated so bad over those years that it was unworkable. But when you watch those old, all the way up through the like Destroyer tour and Rock and Roll Over and all that stuff, I think he's killing it. He sounds great. I love his drumming.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so the song that they're all on, "You Want It the Best" on Psycho Circus, right? To speak to that a little bit and to the whole band, it's like, all right, so the song Psycho Circus, the title track, that's only Paul is the only member of Kiss that is on that song. Like, that's so jive. That's so lame. I mean, I get it. That's just how they were operating at that point in time. But the only song on there that's all of them, it's like it noticeably sounds different. It's not as tight, like tone wise. It's not as tight. It's like it sounds raw. The drumming sounds more raw. The guitar playing sounds more raw. It's the track that sounds like Kiss. It's like that's the thing, and that go just what I was saying about Ace just like being he's just like such a raw guitar player, and it's like it's right there. Like you hear it next to these slick songs on that album. Like that song kind of rocks. And it's like a really nice, it's a really nice example of like next to these other like terrible but slick songs, like what is actually important about music. It's about personality and personal style and vibe, way more than like this dude has like a really tight tone. Who's playing on these other tracks, or this drummer is like more on the creator.
It's interesting because bands evolve and how they kind of do what they do, and if you think about, and I'm not defending Psycho Circus or whatever went into making it, but like if you think about like the original.
Thanks for clarifying. We can't.
Yeah, let's put that disclaimer out there. So,
but just as a longtime band member myself, and a bunch of bands or whatever, like try to like I'm a romantic fan, and of course I always want to see the original lineup of whatever it is, and Alice Cooper Band or whatever. But then but as somebody that's been in a band for a long time, like I also realize like how that it all gets unworkable, with people. And if you think about Kiss, like going back to Destroyer, there were songs that aren't Ace playing on. I grew up thinking that Detroit Rock City was Ace Frehley. It's not, so the memoirs say. Whoever it was like Rick Derringer or Bob Cooler, I don't know, somebody else. And I think that there were moments all throughout that period that were like that. And then you get into like Dynasty and Unmasked and The Elder, and it's I don't think Peter Criss played on any of that stuff. I think Ace played on a bit of it. You know what I mean? I suspect like Ace probably recorded his songs at his studio, and everybody else kind of did their thing somewhere else with Anton Fig or whoever it was. So even going way back then, and unfortunately, like you're not supposed to talk about this stuff out loud or because it bums people out. But I think that is like a pretty normal part of rock and roll and bands that have been around for a long time. And you think about the Stones or something, it's like, is it Keith Richards playing bass on the track, or is it Bill Wyman, or who? Right. Who is it? It's probably just whoever showed up to the studio on that day when that thing happened, and that's how it goes.
I think a fun maybe social experiment could be, Chris. There's a certain level of Kiss fandom in your current band, and like one day this summer you're on tour, you want to play some tunes backstage, just throw on Psycho Circus and see if you turn any heads. Like, what is this?
Hey, what is this? This sounds good.
What is this? This is good. Is this something?
Well, we all have friends, and I'm not saying there's any in my band, but I do know people that would do this. But I do know people that certainly do this, that just like will defend anything. Dude, Psycho Circus has there's a couple sick tracks. I think Nick just did that like 5 minutes ago. You know what I mean?
I did.
You've been guilty of that too.
A good song. I mean, I'm all about finding the worst record by a band and like hoping so hard. And I've been burned most of the time, but hoping so hard I find like one secret hit, right? One secret, just like deep cut, awesome song. Like that's my whole goal here.
Dude, there was something that popped up on Twitter the other day of them playing. I can't remember what it was. It was something from the old school original era, and it was like the first half of the guitar solo was Paul Stanley. And my whole life I thought it was Ace, and then Ace takes over and does the more flashy stuff. But it was like great. Like I think that's maybe a subject for another podcast. But Paul Stanley, if Ace Frehley's underrated, Paul Stanley is really underrated.
Yeah,
because you just don't even. I didn't even know it was him playing the lead.
All right, a couple things to wrap up here. Obviously, Ace had the best solo record of the four.
I wanted to talk about that. Yeah, let's talk about the solo record for a minute.
I mean, that's not really up for
It's
discussion.
No
awesome,
question.
Right?
No question.
No question.
Yeah.
Right?
To me, the solo records go Ace, Paul, Gene, Peter, in terms of, good to bad.
I'm kind of. I always thought maybe some other band would kind of cop that idea someday.
Melvins did it.
Oh, did they? Oh,
Melvins did a very specific, like it's meant to be the Kiss.
Yeah, like they have the same artwork and the whole thing. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. See?
If Jason wasn't 12 years old, he would know that.
That's true. That's true. Well, I mean, hey, we hit it off with Buzzo, King Buzzo. He should have let me know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ace had the best record. They were probably the best marketed band of all time. Right? You could, from cartoons to lunchboxes, they did that for better for worse.
But did that maybe hit a tipping point and as rock music was getting heavier and gnarlier and more heavy metal, and they were going more sort of soft, and you thought of them as like a lunchbox band. I want to state clearly for the record, I never thought that, but other people did.
Mm-hmm. And a lunchbox band. I mean, what's a lunchbox band?
But yeah, because you're like
Kids.
overly, you got dolls and stickers and this and that, and it's all that beautiful merchandising and marketing that you were.
Should I get my fish lunchbox now?
Do you have one?
I brought it for lunch.
Only
today.
if it's filled with weed.
Wait, Jason, do you really have a fish
No.
lunchbox?
Well, now he's embarrassed, Nick. He won't admit it.
He does.
He won't admit
That's
it.
true.
That's right.
But when you talk about defending bands, buddy, I've heard you defend some bands. Chris, I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
You know, and I have too. I've been guilty of that too. Because there's been times where we've been talking about music, and I'll say, "Oh yeah, this is my favorite record," and you're like, "You're not serious."
Well, yeah.
Like Oasis.
Yeah, like Oasis.
Well, it's funny, yeah. Like I mean, it has so much to do with like that stuff. It's just like what you're exposed to when you're a kid and a teenager, and that's the thing that you think is the greatest. So, yeah. So if anybody out there doesn't believe or understand that Wasp is one of the greatest bands ever, based on their first record, I will fight you to the death.
See, I didn't want to mention
Stand by
names.
it.
I didn't
Stand
want
by
to
it.
call out names.
Yeah.
Didn't want to call
That's
out names.
right.
All right, let's wrap up with this. Top 3 Ace Frehley
I think we all
riffs.
want to know when Blackie Lawless is going to be on your show and why he hasn't yet. You know?
Deep negotiations.
Yeah.
Deep negotiations.
Do you want to be the guest interviewer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't get him excited,
Yeah.
Nick. Don't. All right, top 3 Ace riffs, Chris.
Top 3 Ace riffs. When you think of the top 3 Ace riffs, I mean, you got to throw "Shock Me" in there. That was kind of his signature, his first signature song. I mean, you could go New York Groove, but it's a cover, so and also 2000 Man's a cover, so like you couldn't really throw that. I would say cover songs you have to exclude. He didn't sing it in Kiss, but Cold Gin, I believe he wrote, right? That's, that's solid. And you know what? I go Rocket Ride.
That's a good one.
I'd
throw in Calling Dr. Love.
Come on. That's a good one.
I'd throw in Calling Dr. Love.
Well, is that an Ace riff or is that a Gene riff? I mean, it's a Gene song. You're really exposing your lack of fandom right
Come
now.
on.
Wow. Come on. Yeah,
Parasite.
you can edit that out. Okay, Parasite. We're back.
Parasite.
There you go.
all
Okay,
right?
there you go.
And my honorable mention would be Into the Void.
Okay, come on.
Into the Void, honorable
do
mention?
you really want me to reach through the computer and slap you right now? You're making me mad.
Oh, man. All right. Nick, do you have any other musical insults to throw Chris's way?
I just was sitting here Googling my favorite Kiss songs to see which one are his riffs. So with that said, I learned a lot. He didn't write Firehouse. He didn't write Strutter. And as you informed me earlier, he doesn't even play on Detroit Rock City. So I'm going to go with Shock Me. And when I need some Ace Frehley content, I just go to YouTube and put in Ace Frehley laughing, and I just watch that video.
Yeah, can we just can we add the Tom Snyder interview to greatest riffs? No, I'm a plumber.
When he says, "Yeah,"
that's the best.
I should have had that.
That's the best. His comedic timing was impeccable.
Perfect.
I should have had that programmed on one of these pads.
Oh my God! Will you add that in? In post?
Right here.
Like,
Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
I mean, something like that.
Yes.
So, all right, buddy. So, what do you got coming up? I hear you're going on tour soon.
We got some tour dates that we just announced. We got like a couple shows in Mexico this month, and just some kind of stuff here and there, and we'll see. It's
You're coming through Philly.
Growing all the time. Yeah. More to come. Stay tuned.
Are you, Nick wants to know if he can take you on a cheesesteak tour when you're in Philly.
Hell yes. Yeah, there's the two places,
do it.
right, that everybody debates which one's better.
Oh, here he goes.
Yeah.
You're going to get him started.
Is this, am I picking, I'm picking a scab here?
For the sake of keeping this podcast about Ace Frehley and not Philadelphia cuisine. Yes. There are two places.
I bet Ace.
I'll show you the good shit.
Yeah, I bet Ace dug into a Philly cheesesteak here and there.
He's had some cheesesteaks.
Oh, you know he's had some cheesesteaks. And what about Cinderella? Do you remember? Have you ever seen that ad for the cheesesteak place?
Oh yeah,
you know
yeah.
What I'm talking about?
That's like a legendary local ad.
Yeah.
I think I can't remember if it's for Pat's or Gino's. It's for one of them.
You know, rock and roll and cheesesteaks. They just kind of they
what
go
are you
hand
gonna
in hand.
It's a pretty rock and roll sandwich.
I will say honestly, probably every time we've ever toured through Philadelphia or even close to Philadelphia, we always send out for a grip of cheesesteaks. So yeah, I'm no stranger to the Cheese Whiz, bud.
How's it feel that you put down 3-4 of those cheesesteaks, then go play for 3 hours?
That's a mellow show, bro. All the jams really stretch out. Follow me, man. This one's an E. I'm gonna put my phaser on.
Do you know about the Phillies visiting clubhouse catering?
No.
Do you guys know about this?
No.
Apparently, some people say the best cheesesteaks in Philadelphia are in the Phillies visitors clubhouse.
Wow.
Why
and
is
the
that?
reason that they do that, allegedly, is because the dudes come, they eat a ton of cheesesteaks, and then
they
they're
feel like,
sleepy.
"Oh."
Wow. Was that a reform that Pete Rose put into place when he was there?
Yeah, yeah, right.
All right, buddy. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah. Good to see you guys.
Yeah, man.
see
Thank you.
All right. We'll talk soon.
All right. Later.
All right. So that was our talk with Chris Shiflett paying tribute to Ace. It was great to kind of dig into Ace's catalog. We settled that he, of course, had the best solo record of the four. And he was just recently, posthumously, along with his bandmates, inducted as a Kennedy Center honoree.
All right, so remember, you can get at us by sending us a message to 100guitarist@premierguitar.com. Shoot us a text or leave us a voicemail at 319-423-9734. And wherever you're checking us out, be sure to like, subscribe, rate, and review this podcast.
That's right. All right. We'll see you all next time.
See you next time.